Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Simsbury Historic District Commission, which I would like to call to order. First, a little bit of housekeeping. If you are not speaking, please do stay muted. Members of the public, there will be a chance for you to speak. Please wait until the commission opens the public portion of the meeting. And to the commissioners, just a reminder to speak one at a time. For the application, each application, I'll read the application. I will ask the applicant to present their project. Then I'll invite members of the public to speak. Then we will close the public hearing so that the commissioners can discuss. Then I will ask each commissioner if they have questions or concerns, and then we'll move forward from that. So first, I'll start with a roll call of the commissioners. I see Julie Carmelick.
Here.
Diane Mead.
Here.
Heather Gatz.
Here.
Patty Hippa.
Here.
Peter Adamovitz.
Here.
And is that everybody? So I'll double check. Okay, so I would like to appoint Peter Adamovitz as a full-seated voting member for the meeting tonight.
Right. Don't you have a full roster of regular members?
Well, we do, actually. It has been customary that we have appointed alternates for voting privileges, even when we do have a quorum. That's something that we've been doing for some time.
I don't think that's the appropriate process, however.
As long as you're not over the maximum membership of regular appointees, you can put an alternate in at any time.
And what's the maximum?
You have 7 regular members and alternates. If you don't have all 7 regular members in the House, you can appoint an alternate at any time.
Okay, let's see if we can clarify this. My understanding is that our commission has 5 regular members and 3 alternates. Now, we have an issue, Tom, with the composition of our membership, of our commissioners. We are not technically in compliance with the town ordinance. The town ordinance states that we should have
The political affiliation issue?
hang on, just one moment, please. I think we currently now have 3 in-district full members. That is not in compliance with the ordinance. We should have 2 full in-district members and 1 alternate.
Understood. This is
Wait, that is incorrect.
No.
The ordinance on page 31 says that there should be 3 resident full members and 2 resident alternates in the district. That is what it says.
Okay, but let's look at that a little bit more closely. So I'm going to read from page 30 of our ordinance. The Historic District Commission states, as Heather just said, and she's right about this, the Historic District Commission consists of 5 regular members and 3 alternate members, all of whom shall be electors of Simsbury and none of whom shall hold a salaried public municipal office. At least, and then the next sentence continues, at least 2 regular members and 1 alternate member shall be owners of record or residents within the commission. And that's amended 1991.
So the handbook does not properly, that's different than the handbook, is that correct?
No, I'm reading from the handbook.
Does it state that they have to be seated? They just have to be represented.
So the question is, how many need to live in the district? That is the question.
So as I've read it, there's
Because
supposed to be 5 regular members.
Because on page 33, it says there should be of the three, at least 3 regular members and 2 alternate members shall be owners of record. So page 33 is different than page 31. And I have asked the town to have council provide clarification on this point. Now, last time I asked this question, I was told that we are in fact in compliance with 2 regular members in district and 1 alternate. That's the last information that I have from council. So we are waiting for clarification. So with all of that confusion,
Can you send Marguerite that out? Because I am only seeing the, it's under ordinance establishing a historic district and historic district commission in the handbook. And under and then number 3, part A states the members. And after that, I do not see anything that says 2 and 1.
okay, Heather, let's have another look at this. If you turn to page 33, rules and procedures, if you look on page 32, actually, you'll see that the rules and procedures were adopted July 7th of 1988. And if you turn to section 2, organization of the commission on page 33, under membership, it says there shall be at least 3 of the regular members and 2 of the alternate members shall be owners of record or residents of the historic district. So that was what was decided in 1988, as best I can tell. Is everybody with me so far?
Marguerite, I just feel like I'm reading there's 2 paragraphs I see in the handbook, and I'm not the language appears different to me. Shall consist of 5 members and 3 alternate members. 3 of the regular
Yes.
members and 2 of the alternate members shall be owners of record.
That's on page 33, Chad.
Okay.
I would just like for expedience of this, just to remind that we just need a set seat of people and a 4-vote majority in order to move the application along. The need for a clarification from town council and all that may be a sidebar issue. I don't believe if the applicant and the counsel of the applicant are in agreement that we can continue on as dictated by the chair, that we could work through for the 4-vote majority and continue on with the application so that we don't get bogged down with the political aspect of the makeup of the commission during this. Mr. Donahue, do you have a comment on that?
Yes, I appreciate the commission. I appreciate trying to make sure that you're absolutely on all fours with the regulation. However, at this point, for clarification, just for the record, if you don't mind, I'd like all the commissioners to state their address, the name and address, so that the record will reflect how many in you have and how many out you have, just in case somebody wants to look at that later on. I don't raise any question on it, but I do think it would be helpful if town council is going to look at it, would be helpful if the commission would state for the record their name and address.
Fair.
Duly noted, but I was interrupted when I was trying to make a point of clarification that one of the other commissioners had asked. And so I would like to continue and state that on page 30 of the handbook, the ordinance establishing this historic district commission, which I believe dates to 1991, says that at least 2 regular members and 1 alternate member shall be owners of record within the district. That was amended in 1991. So from the best that I can see, trying to do this by the book here, literally, that supersedes. So we are not technically in compliance, and so that I ask both the applicant's counsel and the town if we can have everybody who is a member of the commission, whether a full member or an alternate, if they can be seated and vote on this application this evening. Can the town answer that?
I'm not in a position to rule on that. I apologize.
Could the chair possibly tell me how we're out of compliance?
We are out of compliance in that we have, instead of 2 regular members and 1 alternate, in district, we actually have 3 regular members and no alternates who live in the district.
But the 3 living in the district is totally permissive and advised because it's in excess of the 2 that's required.
But it's not technically in compliance. We do not have an alternate who is in district.
At this evening, if we have a full panel, we don't need an alternate. Not having an alternate, you don't have a justiciable question as to whether you should be able to evaluate that or not.
All right, well, fair enough. We will proceed. We have an excess of a quorum with the full voting members with myself. I live at 33 Seminary Road. And can each commissioner please identify where they live for the record? Julie?
I'm Julie Carmelik. I live at 46 Ichabod Road.
Diane?
Diane Mead, 73 East Weetog Street. I'm in the district.
Patty Hippa?
Yes, 42 East Weetog Street, which is also within the district.
And Heather Getz?
72 East Weetog Street, also in the district.
Thank you.
And Peter.
So sorry, Peter Adamowicz?
Peter Adamowicz, 5 Humphrey Street, and I am not in the district.
Okay, very well. So we move to the public hearing for application 20-07 CRS Landscape and Excavation. Applicant Marshall Epstein, owner for a certificate of appropriateness to dismantle an approximately 30 by 80-foot barn on the property located at 25 East Weetog Street. And who will be presenting this evening?
Madam Chairman, for the applicant, TJ Donahue, and Marshall, the record will note that Marshall Epstein and Jeremy Burial are on the call with us today. This is a continued public hearing. Correct me if I'm wrong, in the continued public hearing, there are minutes of the November 5th meeting, which are very well done and very adequate, which are part of this record. So I don't want to go through that again for you. Left open at the last weekend was, at the last meeting, was a desire for an inspection of the structure, and that was carried out. And then as part of the packet today, I note the town staff's findings in staff report on the inspection that was made by the town building inspector. And I'm sure that's part of the record. That's your own staff's position, and we concur with those findings. We do feel that the structure should be taken down. It's a very weary structure after years of use, and it should be taken down. That's a finding of the building inspector. He makes an evaluation with respect to the cost value of the thing, and also notes the decrepit condition that it's in. So we very respectfully request that this board will not move to reach to the limits of their power to try to affect some result, but will give the relief of good judgment and make a finding that the structure, that the removal of the structure is an appropriate act with respect to the context of the entire farm. We do note that the farm is vibrant, it's being preserved, it's being conserved, and that all the most historic elements of the farm are being preserved. So we'll answer any question that you have. We very much appreciate the board's time and consideration, and we are respectfully requesting a certificate of appropriateness so we can proceed to remove the barn.
I do have some questions, and I'm sure other commissioners have questions about this report as well. The report itself is quite brief. And so I'd like to ask some questions of the town, and hope that they can be answered. Mr. Miga noted that this, and I quote from his report for the record here, the structure is leaning and has several structural deficiencies. It is not anchored to the supports at grade and as such represents a hazard to the street and the parking spaces in a wind event with the right orientation to the building. So my questions are, why is the structure leaning? What are the structural deficiencies? What is the cause of these deficiencies? How long have these deficiencies existed? And how long has it represented a hazard to the street?
From a town standpoint, I can only answer several of those just because I'm not the owner of the property, but I would say age would be the main reason for the deterioration of the structure. And as Mr. Miga said, construction of structures in that age period may not have anchored it to that base. It is what it is, and his findings are fairly clear about how it is oriented, how it is braced, and what its situation is as far as its ability to withstand long-term events. As far as the history of the building, I would have to defer to the owner and or the applicant and council.
Would the applicant or his counsel like to answer the questions?
Yes. Henry Miga is a building official of the town of Simsbury. He's a sworn official in the town of Simsbury. And not only is he an expert by virtue of his position, but he's a true expert on these matters. So he's your staff. He has spoken on this matter, and you would need it would be inappropriate to try to add or detract from his professional official position on this. I think you're compelled to accept that and act on his conclusions without anything further unless somebody presents some professional opinion evidence to the contrary. That's the law in the state of Connecticut, and that's the standard that we have.
Well, the reason that I asked Mr. Donahue is that I'm referring to the meeting minutes from November 5th. And Mr. Glidden said, if Mr. Miga says the barn should go, a special meeting will be called and Mr. Miga will attend that meeting. And so I'm hoping that somebody, if Mr. Miga was not able to attend the meeting tonight, then I'm hoping that somebody else will be able to answer the commission's questions.
That was a different question, Madam Chairman, but your comment about Mr. Glidden's comment, Mr. Glidden was talking about a circumstance where there would be a clear and present danger to the continued condition of the barn. And Mr. Miga's report was not that it was liable to blow over tomorrow, but it would blow over soon. So there was, it's my recollection that Mr. Glidden's reservation was to have immediate action if that was necessary by the circumstances. And once again, we retreat to requesting your sound judgment and practical, fair judgment that appropriateness is the right remedy for this barn.
And as town staff, I'd like to also reiterate that Mr. Miga is our town expert and trained professional that we rely on for his opinion that is reflected in the staff report.
Thank you. Can the town or council clarify, has Mr. Miga, as our professional building official, certified that there are unsafe or dangerous conditions that threaten public safety?
His findings are reported in the staff report. Unfortunately, Mr. Miga, due to his schedule during COVID-19, has not had the time to perform an official report to the town, but his direct evidence is reflected in the staff report. His findings are directly reflected in the report.
Okay, but that doesn't answer my question. Are there
That's all I have to offer.
Are there questions from other commissioners?
I have a question. Could you, the report references some temporary shoring, and I was wondering if someone could provide a little more information on what that temporary shoring entails, when it was installed, where, what it's shoring. Anyone?
I would like to ask Jeremy Buriel, if he's on the call, if he has information on that specific question. I will tell you that the town engineer, the town building officials report speaks for itself. It puts you in a position far advanced from many commissions that have to make a judgment, and I'm surprised at this level of inquiry of it. But if Jeremy Buriel, who's the contractor who's going to do the removal, is available and can answer that, I'd like him to.
Can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yep, we can hear you now.
Oh, sorry. I am not aware of any temporary shoring that's ever been done there. In the past 20 years that I've been doing work at the property, Marshall may know more than I do.
So is that a contradiction to the report that was presented by Mr. Mika? It didn't come with photographs, so we don't have anything to evaluate what he saw and might be referring to. So.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he saw. I mean, he referred to whatever the way the structure was built and the way it is now, and in his opinion, his professional opinion, said it's unsafe.
Well, he said actually, but for the temporary shoring, it's unsafe. So it's really important for me, to understand what's keeping it in place. What is this temporary shoring? How long has it been there? Temporary shoring can last 10, 15 years. It's temporary, but it keeps the building up. And so I just, so it's important for me to kind of get an understanding of what we're talking about here.
Okay. I'm unaware of any shoring in there. I've looked at it. It appears to be built in the same way as other barns on the property. They're standing straight. So I can't speak to something that I don't know of.
Sure, understood.
If I can just provide for the record, again, the temporary shoring is not a direct quotation from Mr. Miga. Mr. Miga's report is technically 2 sentences, which says the structure is leaning and has several structural deficiencies. It is not anchored to the supports at grade, and as such represents a hazard to the street and parking spaces in a wind event with the right orientation to the building, end of quote. That's from Mr. Miga. Then the report goes on to say, presumably this is Mr. Glidden, the structure is standing today thanks to some temporary shoring and bracing that has been implemented in the interior. These measures are temporary and therefore will not keep the structure from collapsing in the long term. Well, of course, that's because it's meant to be temporary. So what this report seems to be saying is that it is actually stabilized today for the moment, but we don't know how much longer it will be stable. Is that a fair assessment? And there does seem to be some, if Mr. Verrill hasn't seen the shoring and bracing, it's very confusing to us as commissioners as to exactly what the situation, what the construction, and what the problems with the structure really are.
There hasn't really been. Can I say something?
Yes, please. Oh, Marshall, you've muted yourself.
Yeah, there hasn't been anything really done in the last at least 30 years. I know we did shoring some things up maybe 30, 35 years ago. But other than that, there hasn't been anything done to that shed other than trying to repair some of the roof at certain times. But other than that, it's leaning. It's a tobacco shed. If you went on many different tobacco sheds, there are probably a lot of dangerous ones around town because that's what tobacco sheds are not well built, especially in that era in the 40s and 50s. They were slapped up pretty quickly because they wanted to get tobacco in and increase the amount of tobacco being grown throughout the valley. So they're not really structural buildings to last for centuries. They're tobacco sheds. And that's how they were built. So the construction itself lends itself toward a short-term livelihood for that type of building.
Okay, thank you for that clarification, Mr. Epstein.
I'm kind of frustrated here, and I just have to interject. At our last meeting about this, we requested that there be an inspection of the barn, and it was inspected. And that report that came through, that has to be, I think, what Tom has indicated. That's our expert from the town who indicated not only is it in sad shape, but to repair it was going to be ultimately more than the value of the barn. I think we're going around in circles. I think what we asked for, we were given, and on that information, we should be proceeding. I think this is really unfair.
Are there other commissioners who would like to speak or have questions?
I very much agree with everything Diane just said.
Is it okay if I speak, Marguerite?
Please.
Yeah, so I'm in agreement with Diane and also Heather, who live in the district, by the way. And you have to go by the professional's opinion. Yeah, there's no question. Mr. Mecca, he was asked to go out there as professional through the town of Simsbury, and that just cannot be, pushed to the side.
I don't think anybody's pushing it to the side. I want to be very clear. My questions are really because I feel like I have a lack of information here. We requested a report, and what we got were a couple quotes, a couple sentences, no photographic evidence. What from I'm seeing, even though, perhaps Mike added some editorialization to the report, it now appears to be contradictory. And that's important. We're trying to make a decision here that's going to impact the district. It's going to impact the historic significance of the district, the integrity of the district. This is not a decision that I think we should be making without peace of mind that we know all the facts here. And I just feel like, for me, there are still some unanswered questions. That's all. I don't think anybody's trying to contradict Mr. Miga or disparage Mr. Miga in any way. I just have some unanswered questions, and this is a very heavy decision. And I think that it would really behoove us to have all the information. And I will just also add, as a point of discussion, perhaps, I don't think value and cost associated with repair is a measure by which we evaluate resources. That's not in the ordinance. It's not in the state enabling statute. It's just not how we evaluate whether or not a resource is saved. So that makes me a little uneasy that conversation would be added into the motion for this project, for this.
Yeah, Julie, what you're saying makes me very uneasy, because that means that you can tell someone they've got to spend $200,000 to fix a $100,000 barn. That's a Fifth Amendment taking. I mean, you can't do that.
Well, I'm not asking anybody to do that, but what we're faced here now is demolition by neglect, and I don't think we.
And I also had 3 barns, maybe 4 barns, that were all built in the 1800s that were approved to be demolished due to neglect.
I would also just like to I mentioned this in the last meeting, but it really was not being neglected. He did come to you 3 years ago looking for a standing seam roof, which was denied. And you can make the argument standing seam roofs were around in the 1800s on barns. That was denied. You did give him alternatives, but at the end of the day, what he came and asked for was denied. So he wasn't neglecting it.
But we're commissioners. We're charged with making decisions about what's appropriate for the district, and that's what we did. That's really a really poor comparison, Heather. That's not what we did.
The standing seam roof you could make a very strong argument that that's historic. So now it's just kind of like you need to own the decision.
But it's not historic to the district. It's, yeah, sure, standing seam metal roofs have been around for a century, but that's not historic to the district or appropriate for the district. And that's how we base our decision.
And furthermore, we provided the applicant with two other alternatives, one actually less expensive, but historically appropriate to the barn. And the applicant chose not to do that.
Madam Chairman, are
Can
you
I
doing
finish,
this?
please?
Are you doing this in a public hearing? Are you lecturing us on your opinion in the public hearing? Or are you going to close the public hearing and deliberate on this? Right now, we're having an argument, slashing town staff, talking about neglect. It is so far beyond the framed question. And the framed question is this. The applicant has asked you to grant a certificate of appropriateness to take down this specific barn. No prejudice, no preferential value or precedent value to any other property, to take down this barn at this time. It looks to me like there are three commissioners who support that position. I would like you to frame the question as it is and deliberate on it as it is and give the applicant the decision that he deserves. And your discretion is your discretion, but it's not time to lecture people from the position of the chair during the public hearing part of the meeting.
Are you done lecturing me, Mr. Donahue?
Yeah.
Thank you. I would like to give Peter the opportunity to speak, even if he cannot vote. Peter, do you have questions or comments?
I'd like to know if it's appropriate to have a commissioner can't speak as a member of the public at a public hearing. So he can't speak as a commissioner and he can't participate in the deliberation. So as much as I respect his role in participation as commission, I'm not sure it's appropriate for you to call on Peter to speak at this time.
I'm offering him the opportunity. Tom, can you weigh in as to whether or not that's appropriate?
Can we revisit that topic, please, Mr. Donahue? Because I'm trying to wrap my head around that one, please.
Because
he's not a voting member. Is that the issue?
The issue is what's the appropriate role for him to play in the public hearing of the commission at a time when it seems to be broken down into discussion and deliberation.
His role would be to ask questions of the applicant and town staff, and then they can break into deliberation and discuss amongst themselves. That is the appropriate role of the public hearing, in my opinion.
I agree with that. With that Peter can deliberate as well.
Okay, so granted the permission. No, I do have a couple of questions, but most importantly is, this is a tremendous important decision we're about to make here. And we're all interpreting one document, and that's, Mr. Miga's inspection report. So if we're really hinging upon his guidance and his statements about the condition of the barn, I wish he was here. So rather than us interpreting what he's saying with a few brief paragraphs, I think it's really important that he be here and give us an explanation or better description of the condition of the barn. I'm not saying that, I've been by the barn as early as today. I drove around it. I took a look at it, and certainly it's in disrepair. Yes, it is leaning, but we just went through two terrific storms, 50-mile-an-hour gusts, and no, it didn't blow over. And he spoke about, the sills not being anchored to a foundation. Well, none of the barns have foundations, or do they have anchor bolts that are going to a foundation?
Madam Chairman, your staff has given full, clear, and unambiguous report to your commission. You have an alternate commissioner who's making an advocacy argument at the public hearing. That's forbidden by statute in the state of Connecticut.
I do not see Peter's comments as being an advocate. He is a professional, a building construction professional, and we value his opinion, and that is why he was appointed as an alternate to this board. And it's perfectly his questions are perfectly reasonable.
He didn't ask a question yet, Madam Chairman.
Our question is, why is not Mr. Mega here tonight?
That's been answered. He's not going out to meetings with COVID-19, and I don't know why he's not on the show.
Domingue was not available for this meeting.
So my questions really would be directed towards him, towards his inspection. As Marguerite mentioned, I've been in the building industry for 41 years. I've renovated a lot of historical buildings. And I've been through a lot of demolition, and I've seen lots of good things happen. So me personally, I have lots of questions for Mr. Mega.
Yeah. Thank you, Peter. All right. Do any of the commissioners have any further questions? Okay. And are there members of the public who would like to speak to this application?
Yeah, I guess as a neighbor and
Could you please identify yourself?
Chad Alfeld, 26 East Weetog Street. As a resident since 1997, living across the street, certainly highly appreciate the neighborhood we live in. I have, and not sure whether it's relevant or not, been very conscientious of the historic nature of our own home. We've invested a lot of time and money into it, and we live right across from the structures we're discussing. I value all the buildings in the district to varying degrees, depending upon what they are, and specifically when they were built. This one being built in 1955 falls out of what the original intent of the Historic District Commission was intended to preserve, and is in and of itself not necessarily a historic structure, in my opinion. I appreciate Marshall's situation. I don't believe that it's incumbent upon any property owner to have to maintain a building on their premises, the maintenance. If something falls into disrepair and is then in such a condition in which it would be costly potentially to the owner, and that's really up to them to determine whether or not they feel compelled to spend capital for such maintenance. That's really their decision. If it's in disrepair, it's been determined to be in disrepair, and a town professional has determined that it is potentially a liability, I see no reason why it should come down. I don't see the merits of it. I am disappointed, I will say, that a standing seam roof, which is not uncommon, right? It's been used since the 1800s on all sorts of structures throughout the US, including barns. And it would have been nice to have seen that occur on that structure and been visually appealing considering all the other structures on the property. I'm disappointed as a neighbor that didn't happen. The architect that I worked with on my property thought that would have been completely appropriate for the structure. And actually the recommendations that were made were not appropriate for the structure. Be that as it may, I think it's appropriate at this time for it to come down and be dismantled given its disrepair. Just as other structures have been treated for, unfortunately, this happens. A tobacco barn on the property across from Marshall was taken down within the last 20 years as well because of the disrepair. Thank you.
Okay. Well, if there are no further questions from the commissioners, then I would like to close the public hearing to begin deliberation. I would like to note for the record that it is true that in the state of Connecticut, historic district commissions do not have the authority to require maintenance or repair of an existing building and structure. So demolition by neglect is something that happens in our state. That is true. It's unfortunate, but it is true. So the question that remains unanswered for me by the town is, has the building official certified that there are unsafe and dangerous conditions that threaten public safety? That is not clear to me in this report. I'm an architectural historian and a historic preservationist. I look at old buildings, think about old buildings, and work on preserving them every day, and I've been doing it for over 20 years. I've had dozens of structural reports in my hands. I know what a structural report is and what it conveys. And this memo from the town is sorely lacking. It's confusing. It raises more questions as we started to ask folks who've been in the building. It seems like, it feels like it's unraveling to me. And it's very difficult for me as a preservation professional to say that tonight we have to decide that a building has to come down with these unanswered questions. I refer back to the minutes from November 5th. There were a number of questions about liability regarding the barn. And I quote again, for the record, Mr. Glidden said that he will have Mr. Miga go out to Rosedale Farms next week because it's an unsafe situation. If Mr. Miga says the barn should go, a special meeting will be called and Mr. Miga will attend that meeting. And Mr. Miga is not here. And no one told us that. No one made an effort to reschedule the meeting so that he could attend and answer the commissioner's questions. So it's my feeling that without a report that answers our questions, I haven't even gotten through all of my questions, and it doesn't seem that they're going to be answered. Without a report that provides this evidence, the Historic District Commission, as the town's official preservation commission, cannot fulfill its obligation to the town as a Historic District Commission, nor as a certified local government. We're a town body and not a neighborhood association. We took oaths to uphold the town's ordinance that established the local historic district, that established the local historic district and the Historic District Commission. And it seems to me that somebody in this district might challenge our decision in the future to provide a certificate of occupancy for this barn's demolition. And as chair of this commission, I want to ensure that we really have done our due diligence, because we are here. This is not a design review board. This is not a neighborhood association. We are a preservation commission. And if this barn is a clear and present danger, I will accept Mr. Miga's report, but I value his opinion. It's just, I need some clarifications. So I'm very troubled at the prospect of voting on a certificate of appropriateness for this. I should also like to note that under the enabling statute, if, let me think for a moment here. If there is a building that is if there's a COA that is issued for a demolition, Julie, correct me if I'm wrong here, but my understanding is that this decision will then be referred to the State Historic Preservation Office, unless the building official has certified that there are unsafe and dangerous conditions that threaten public safety. That's my understanding. Is that correct, Julie?
My understanding is that it would be sent to the State Historic Preservation Office with a 90-day delay of demolition so that the office has an opportunity to investigate alternatives without that certification, to Marguerite's point.
So it behooves us to make sure that we have all of the information we need before we vote on taking this building down, because once it's gone, it's gone. It's not coming back. If it is such a clear and present danger, when I drove by it today and when Peter drove by it today, we did not see any signs posted. We did not see caution tape around it. I saw the doors open. And so I would like to have it clarified. Is this an issue of it's going to cost too much to repair the building, or is it a clear and present danger? Those are my questions. Those are my questions.
We did ask for an assessment, and it does seem pretty crystal clear. Would you just mind rereading what was sent from the town?
I would be glad to. Quoting from the report, this is Mike Liddon writing, I asked the building official to inspect the site and determine whether the structure was salvageable or not. Mr. Miga noted the following observations, and I quote here from Mr. Miga, the structure is leaning and has several structural deficiencies. It does not describe the structural deficiencies. It is not anchored to the supports at grade, and as such represents a hazard to the street and the parking spaces in a wind event with a right orientation to the building, end of quote. And then continuing, Mr. Glidden writing, the structure is standing today thanks to some temporary shoring and bracing that has been implemented in the interior. These measures are temporary and therefore will not keep the structure from collapsing in the long term. We discussed whether it is possible for the structure to be repaired or rehabilitated. It is the opinion of the building official that the necessary repairs will exceed 75% of the structure's value, and therefore it may not be economically feasible to repair or restore the structure without exceeding its value. And then this is all in one sentence, and therefore he recommends the demolition removal of the structure because of the urgent public safety concerns. And I would like to reiterate here that he switches from talking about economic value and economic feasibility, switches directly then to urgent public safety concern. And those are conflating two very different things, in my view.
I think the last sentence is key there, though.
And you know what? And I think we're talking about there are two very important issues. One is the safety issue, and then one is the cost of rehabilitation. The safety issue is the major one. See, I read that very differently or I interpreted differently than you, Marguerite. To me, it was very clear that he was saying it was a danger and should come down. But I guess we all read it in our own way, but that's how I took it. I mean, I thought it was just abundantly clear that was the recommendation. And again, because he was the town official, I'm not going to second guess him. That's my reaction to this. We asked him to do something and he did it. And this is the report that came back.
Well, it does not answer my questions. So let me ask the commissioners, would you be adverse, or what would you feel about a motion to deny this application without prejudice in order to buy a little more time that would enable us to have a meeting where Mr. Miga could come and answer our questions and or provide an illustrated report that fleshes out the details for those of us who geek out on those kinds of structural details. I would also like to raise the point that the commission, our commission, has the right to engage professionals of our own. We can engage our own structural engineer who specializes in historic buildings and particularly in barns. And we are able to do that at no cost through Preservation Connecticut.
I would just like to speak, if I may, and caution the commission upon the fact that A denial for continuation might be a slippery slope for the commission. You have exhausted your continuations and are basically need to make a ruling, but denial for continuation is a slippery slope. The only request that you may have, if you would like continuation, is to request the applicant for continuation, and that is up to their own choice of whether they would like a ruling right now or not. And so I would just make sure that the commission is aware of what steps they are taking at this point, because a denial for continuation is, I would just leave it as a slippery slope, and I would be cautious. That's all I can advise you on.
So I cannot reopen the public hearing to ask the applicant for his opinion there. So I think we just have to work with what we have. So I ask the question again, is that something that the commissioners are willing to entertain?
I've got to say, I'm uncomfortable with that, Marguerite. I think the applicant has supplied all the information that has been asked. We continued it to this meeting. The information was supplied to us, and I think we're obliged to vote.
I agree with Diane. I think we should move to vote.
I agree with Marguerite. We asked for a report, and this is, with the exception of a couple sentences, a staff report from Mike, not from Henry. There's no evidence this is unlike any structural report that I've ever seen, and I think that there is more there. And I think that having Henry, giving Mr. Miga the opportunity to come and speak with us, or at the very least provide a full certified report with analysis and photographs and all the things that I certainly was expecting when I made this request last month. I don't know how we can possibly make a decision with the information we have. So I would certainly request or recommend I don't know what we're going to call it, a denial without prejudice or a denial for a continuation. I just feel like more information would make me comfortable.
Yes, this is Patty Hippa speaking. And I totally 100% disagree. They have submitted substantial information. They've done what we did ask. And that's what we have to go by. And that's it.
Tom, do you see any other options for us here?
No, unfortunately, you're against the wall. You have to open it for a motion for approval or denial or a request of the applicant. And if the applicant denies you a continuation, then you do have to vote.
Okay, could you rephrase that? This is not something that I've had to do before. What do I need to do to ask of the applicant if they would be willing to extend? How does that work?
You are in a public forum. You can make a formal request of the applicant or their counsel.
But the public forum is closed. And I'm sorry, now we're having a glitch, so I cannot hear you.
Marguerite, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to speak or not, but you can always ask.
The public
anyone.
forum is closed, is it not, Tom?
I believe you closed the public forum in order to have a deliberation after Mr. Donahue had spoken, and we were just in deliberation, so now it's time for either request of the applicant or a motion for the application.
Okay, and the request of the applicant, is that from me personally, or do I have to have all of the commissioners agree?
No, as the commission chair, you can request it. If I don't know, Oh, Mr. Donohue's a lawyer here, but I would say that it would be proper in the opening to,
It's very,
to be on the safe side, because I'm not totally clear on that. You can poll the commission if you'd like to ask the applicant, but if the applicant would like to speak prior to you even polling and make their statement, if it's in their best interest, they can do that as they may, and that way it nullifies the need for that issue. But I would say just be on the safe side. It would be worthwhile, but I think that the commission, as the chair and running it, you can ask for a continuation. I would hope I'm not wrong on that.
well, this is a very difficult position for me to be in because the applicant has his counsel here
Yeah.
and the town does not.
I understand that. And I would say that to err on the side of caution, poll the commission to see if they would like to ask for a continuation. And that way there wouldn't be any kind of question, but a continuation is a simple request of an applicant. It does not have to be by a majority. You're the commission chair. I think you have a feel for the commission and what their responses have been in deliberation. If you feel that the commission feels a need for a continuation, you may request it. But to be on the safe side, for legal reasons, the best thing to do is ask if the commission is in favor of asking for continuation of the applicant and get the applicant's response.
Okay, commissioners, you heard that. Could you please all weigh in? Would you support requesting a continuation of the applicant? Heather?
No. No.
I got a no from Heather. Diane is shaking her head no. Patty?
No.
No as well.
Okay. And Julie?
Yes.
Okay. All
And
right.
Peter. Oh, Peter can't weigh in.
I don't know if Peter can weigh in or not, but I would like him to, if he may.
Yeah, I think we should ask for continuation.
Okay.
You're split.
All right.
Would the applicant just like to give their opinion on that and what they might say?
The applicant respectfully requests a vote tonight, up or down.
I think that answers everyone's questions.
Okay, then. Very well. We'll take a vote. But before we do, I would like to reiterate for the record that we took oaths to uphold the town's ordinance that established this local historic district commission and the local historic district. So I think we need to keep that in mind. We are not a neighborhood association. We are a preservation commission. That is what we are here to do. We are here to uphold the town's preservation ordinance. And I would like to, to reiterate as well, that if the building official has not certified that there are unsafe or dangerous conditions that threaten public safety, and that is not clear, but if that building official has not done that, this will be referred to the State Historic Preservation Office, and there will be a 90-day demolition delay. And with that being said, I'm going to regretfully make a motion.
Hold on, Marguerite, I just have something to say. I think to equate this vote right now in good faith to a violation of our oath is really inappropriate.
And I believe that we're done with the comment, and we should just be voting.
Thank you. So I'm going to make a motion to approve a certificate of appropriateness to dismantle an approximately 30 by 80-foot barn on the property located at 25 East Weatog Street. And I'll do this vote via roll call. Diane Mead,
Aye.
Heather Getz,
Aye.
Patty Hippa,
Aye.
Julie Carmelik,
Nay.
and Marguerite Carnell, nay. That's 3-2, the motion carries. Tom,
Yes.
what do we need to do about getting a signature on this?
The normal staff procedures will be followed. It won't be an issue. The certificate will be handled as normal. With Mike out of the office, it should not be an issue as far as getting the certificate signed.
Doesn't it need to be signed by the chair?
Well, if it needs to be signed by the chair, I'll make appropriate appointments with you to have that done. I'm in the office on Friday, and I can make arrangements for next week if need be. When it's produced, we'll contact you and have a sign-off.
Very good.
We can bring it to you.
That's fine, or I can come to the town offices as well.
Yeah, we're open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so we can make arrangements if necessary.
Very good.
Thank
All
you.
right.
We'll be leaving. Thank you very much for your deliberations.
Okay, well, we'll move along then to general commission business. Item 1 is the 2021 meeting schedule. Does anybody have questions or comments on the meeting schedule? Okay,
Just a quick question. We had historically not had one scheduled for August, and then we decided to put it back in just in case. Do we still want to do the just in case, including August?
I think it's wise to keep it on the calendar just in case, so that we are available to folks who live in the commission if they need one.
Okay, no problem. Just want to raise the point.
Okay. All right. We have an item of general commission business. Does the town have anything to bring up in terms of general commission business?
Due to the fact that Michael's not here, I don't have anything for you at this time.
Okay. Then we'll move on to approval of the minutes. We have 2 sets of meetings to approve tonight. Let me make sure I have both of them in front of me here. Yes, the first set of minutes is from November 5th, and I do have some corrections. From the town, who is going to be preparing the minutes from tonight?
Laura will be preparing the minutes for tonight.
Okay, thank you. So I'd like to make some corrections on the November 5th meeting minutes. On the first page, I'd like to correct for the record the name of the attorney. It says Terry Tracy Donahue, which I think was Mr. Donahue's Zoom ID, but for the record, let's make that Thomas J. Donahue. Then on the second page, Laura, are you able to get this? It's pretty simple. I just want to rewrite one sentence.
She'll be getting all of this, and this is also being recorded, so she could look at the recording if she needs any clarification.
Very good. So the second to the last sentence on page 2, this is how the sentence reads now. Ms. Carnell clarified that the business model has changed and there has been an increase of traffic. And I'd like to rewrite that sentence to say that Ms. Carnell asked if the farm's business model had changed, period. And then let me count the pages because there's no page numbers here. 1, 2, 3, 4. On page 5, about halfway down, the sentence now reads, Ms. Carnell said the decision to not put any roof or do any repairs on the barn in the past 3 years is the consequence. I would like to rewrite that sentence as follows. Ms. Carnell said the decision to not replace the roof or do any repairs on the barn in the past 3 years is the reason for the continued deterioration of the barn. That's all I have for corrections on these meeting minutes. Do other commissioners have comments or corrections to make? Okay. Most of you are muted, so I'm not sure if you're trying to speak or not, but it doesn't appear that way. So I'm going to make a motion to approve the minutes as amended. Can I have a second?
Second.
I second that.
Okay, I think Diane seconded that first. So all in favor, and I'll do this by roll call. Diane Mead,
Aye.
Heather Getz,
Aye.
Julie Carmelik,
Aye.
and Patty Hippa.
Aye.
All right, the motion carries to approve the minutes as amended.
I have one thing to bring up. In the 2021 meeting schedule, you do have to vote to adopt that. So if there, I don't believe there was a vote to adopt the 2021 schedule.
Okay.
Can you guys just vote on it and say that that's just so we
Yeah.
have that and we can put that? Thank you.
Yeah, certainly. So motion to approve the meeting minutes as provided. Can we do a show of hands on this one?
That's the 2021 schedule. I'm sorry.
21, yeah, 20, yeah, thank you, 2021 meeting schedule. And Patty, did I get yours hand? Okay. All right. So that's approved unanimously. All right. And so the next motion is to approve the meeting minutes from Thursday, November 12th. And let me just review. And I have no corrections to make. Do other commissioners have comments, edits on these minutes? Okay, hearing none. I'm going to make a motion to approve the minutes as submitted. Can I have a second?
Second.
Diane, second. All in favor, roll call. Diane,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Patty,
Aye.
and Julie.
I think I'm going to abstain. I wasn't at this meeting.
Okay. But we have a quorum without, so the motion carries for that. Thank you for commissioners for your time and patience. This was a difficult meeting. And I appreciate your participation. I believe that everybody who is here and attending is trying to do the right thing. We're just coming at it from different perspectives. So I'm going to make an motion to adjourn the meeting. Can I have a second?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Diane, that's Patty. Heather,
Aye.
Julie.
Aye.
And thank you, Peter, for attending as well. I appreciate your commitment to the commissioner.